So B2B can get a bit of a bad rap for being boring. Why do you think this is? Where does it come from?
I think a lot of it is B2B companies. Obviously, they're in a business, they're selling to another business, and they get very staid in their approaches, and it probably hasn't changed over years for many organizations. And often that's because they haven't got the insight on what is it that's really relevant to that business. And I think where a trick is often missed, if you're trying to sell something to an individual, you base it on them. And I think often we see B2B advertising based on the business. And of course, that's really important. But what is important to that person you're getting into? Is it, you're going to help them with their career? Is it going to help them solve that particular problem that's in the business? I think the other thing that B2B is starting to get better at is bringing some humor into content. If it's dry and staid, it's not memorable. If you've got something in there that adds a bit of humor as well as the relevance, I think that sticks. And I think that's a thing that potentially we're missing. But we're going to change that.
Fantastic. How do you think personalization can be used more effectively in account-based marketing campaigns?
I think it has to be. I think, we're throwing out generic ads to here, there, and everywhere to everyone, regardless of their industry, the size of the business, where they are on the buyer journey, doesn't make sense. Often that's done, as we've said before, because they don't have insight on who they should focus on, why they should focus on them, what buying signals they're showing, if and how they're engaged, where they are on the buyer journey. So without that, of course, it's generic. But it's really important. If I see a company that's just at the start of their buying journey and I hit them with a call to action before they know my brand, before they have any trust in it, that's far too early. I really need to, at that point, be getting them to know that we're a brand that they should investigate and trust. And the last thing you should do is throw sales at them at that point. So I think it's really important to personalize based on those things that matter to that organization, the pain points they're obviously trying to solve, the industry they're in. If I'm in financial services, do I really care if Tesco's are using the product? Probably not. So it's really important for me to personalize on that basis. Regional differences are important. The size of the business. Don't send out a mid-market message to an enterprise company, etc. But you need that insight first. And I think where a lot of companies struggle is they don't have that insight. So a lot of what they're doing is based on guesswork. I've got to advertise to all these companies, throw this thing out there and get our brand awareness out there without thinking about the companies they're targeting.
And the prospect's seen the advertisement, they've clicked through to the landing page. How do you think it's most effective to personalize the landing page?
This is a really interesting subject, actually, because we have a lot of organizations that we work with, and they start with us with the intent piece. Where do I focus my time, budget, and resource? Really important. And then they want to use our advertising so they can focus and advertise just on those companies. And we see huge success then in raising that awareness and getting those organizations coming to the website. And often those organizations at that point cross their fingers that hope that when they arrive on the website, there's something relevant for them to see and they'll stay engaged. Well, the next stage in the demand-based capability is to identify those organizations when they arrive. So if it's a financial services company like an HSBC or a Barclays, we've raised that profile, got them on the website. When they arrive, let's make sure what they see is related to financial services, enterprise-level companies, a peer case study, something that's relevant on how you're helping other financial services companies solve that particular problem. And we can do that without having to build new microsites or adding on additional content. You've got fantastic creative in there. The capability of something like a Demandbase is to say, oh, here comes a financial services company. They're enterprise level and they're trying to solve that problem. That piece of content is really relevant. That messaging is relevant. So when I arrive on the website, everything I see is related to that. That is a hugely effective capability, obviously. And it means that we're not just raising awareness, we're building that brand trust when they come to the site. Oh, that's an organization that understands financial services. They can solve that particular problem for me. I want to find out more, which is obviously the aim of a website.
And do you have an example, Paul, of a B2B campaign that you recently saw, or perhaps it was targeted at you, that really kind of got your attention or got you engaged or interested?
Off the top of my head, I don't, but what I would say, which is a terrible thing. What I would say, though, is the ones that normally stick in my memory are things with a bit of humor in. So I can see that, yes, of course, they're solving a business problem, but they're not taking themselves too seriously. Because at the end of the day, I like technology, but I also want to work for a company that I feel like I'd like to work with, if that makes sense.
Yep.